You are live. You are live. Oh, I'm live. Marvellous. Hello. I am live. I'm live, ladies and gentlemen. I am live. It's funny when the red light, there isn't a red light, when the non-existent red light goes on and you suddenly feel that tingle in your spine. Whoa. We are now live. And you've got to, pay attention. No mucking about. Don't do anything. People are watching you. Suddenly picking your nose. Oh, God, that becomes... Oh. That becomes a thing. Suddenly you mustn't do it. You mustn't scratch your face. Because you're live, ladies and gentlemen. Live! Live! Hello to Steve G, who was quick off the mark this afternoon. Lovely Julia. To Turbo Stream. To Sean's Allotment and Gardening and Homestead. To Cynthia Pate. To Trev's Travels by Narrowboat. To Morton Lewis. To Audrey Forbes. And to Panox. Hello, Panox. Interesting name. Panox. Is that an ox that has panniers on the side of it? There's this big old hefty ox. Come on, boy. Big hefty pannier. Leather. Dusty leather panniers filled with buns. Lovely bread buns. Ready to eat. Just been reading up about Cynthia Payne and her lunch vouchers. Very good. Can you exchange them in pret-a-manger? Jeff Kellison says, I'm late. No, you're not. We haven't even started. Nothing's happened. Good noony afters, says Ed Loud. Good noony afters to you. This is rather good. Lee Lawson, good afternoon, Richard and everyone. Good afternoon, Lee. Very nice to see thee. Very nice to see thee on this fine, dappled afternoon. So there we go. Lovely video this morning, Richard. Thank you very much. Yes, I enjoyed that visitation to an organic farm. You've got to be careful how you say that in case you accidentally say it's an orgasmic farm. But it was organic and lovely to stand in the park. The great thing was when you go to a farm, it's like when you go out for a walk in the countryside and there's all this farm stuff and you think, oh, the path goes across the field. I'll walk round because I don't want to tread on any of the crops. Well, there we were. And he said, oh, yeah, just step into the field. I said, oh, I better be careful. Oh, don't worry about all that. If you can't tread on it, it's not much fun, is it? So you sort of wade out into the field with the crops up to here and just your head's peering over the top, wading through like this, like in Hampton Court Maze. It was great. It was like, liberation to be able to, because as a naughty boy of 7 or 8, when I was a kid, there was a farm behind me. You might just tiptoe a little bit and, knock some of the crop down as you crawl around it, thinking, oh, aren't we naughty? But I don't know if I got more of a thrill being a kid doing that, knowing it was shouldn't do it, or having that drummed into me, and then somebody said, no, step into the fit. What, really? What, step on the crop? Yeah, no, it'll be fine. It'll grow back. It's like there's enough of it. We're not going to run out. Oh, that was, it was just lovely. Pret-a-manger, Cynthia Payne. Put the two together and you've got Payne-a-manger or Cynthia Pet. Anyway, Theresa May would have loved a run through that crop. Yes, she would have been exhilarated. She would have been in some orgasmic state, no doubt. We're on chapter 6, ladies and gentlemen. HV Morton in Search of England. Very exciting. And we've done the first part of this, but we're going to continue on at Glastonbury, which is all going to be very exciting, I'm sure. Everything's very exciting. Oh, contain yourselves, please. Cynthia Pate here, not Cynthia Payne, has arrived. Heat index here for today, 101 Fahrenheit. You see, that just sounds like boiling point to me. Over boiling point. But what is that really? About in the 40s, is it? Something like that? Nice and hot. You get the old Will you be sitting there going, oh dear, I can't listen to this Vobes much longer. Jeff Kellison says, I may be ostracised from the group because I haul farm chemicals. You don't use them, Jeff. You don't use them. You won't be ostracised. You sent in that magnificent, wonderful panning for gold video. We love it. We love it. So don't worry. I am writing from the ruins of Glastonbury Abbey, said Morton. HV Morton. I nearly said Morton Lewis then. I'm writing from the ruins of Glastonbury Abbey. Can't believe that he actually did write from the ruins of Glastonbury Abbey, HV Morton, on his typewriter. A hot afternoon is almost over. There is the air that summer stillness, like the peace of a cloister, in which, so they say in Glastonbury, the scent of mysterious incense sometimes drifts over the walls to astonish men working in the gardens. Yes, we can imagine that in Glastonbury the waft of a mysterious incense does in Glastonbury waft over, even in the 1920s, actually. It's quite interesting. I can, however, smell only the incense of new cut grass. An hour ago I stood on the summit of the Tor above Glastonbury, in the shadow of the tower on the Pilgrims' Chapel of St. Michael's, now a patched ruin, and indeed the lovely Julia and I did just that. But unlike HV Morton, didn't manage to do a live with the lovely Julia there playing the recorder and me running around acting like a buffoon. And Glastonbury Tour, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is, the lovely Julia laughing her socks off, and me running around on a live broadcast or a video. I can't remember if this was the live or the broadcast. Running around many times. We did have a good fun on that. Yeah, I love that picture. It's very nice. Julia looks absolutely amazing, doesn't she? She looks really gorgeous there. And there's that idiot at the back. It's just, that just sums us up, really. I think it sums us up. Oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, enough of that. It'll get me into trouble. Right. I always get into trouble. Dear, oh dear. So, especially with vegans at the moment, but let's not go down that road. Yes, an hour ago I stood on the summit of the Tor at Glastonbury doing a live with the lovely Julia in the shadow of the Pilgrims thingy, now a patch ruin. When I looked east, I gazed down at the Isle of Avalon, and when I looked west, I saw lying in a heat haze the Isle of Athelney. These islands, in inverted commas, are now hills rising from flat fields over which, in the age of myth, ran wide lagoons. Wide lagoons. And I thought that if a man were looking for the roots of England, this is the place to which he would come. In Avalon, the roots of the church. In Athelney, the roots of the state. Now, I sit in the ruins of Glastonbury, and he could do that because there was a bench there. Near me, at the east end of St. Mary's Chapel, archaeologists are digging. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if they were digging in 1920, whenever this was written. They have just unearthed a yellow arm bone of a man which lies in the sunlight on a mound of soft brown soil. I wonder whether it's the arm of a saint, an abbot, or a king. Not that it really matters much now. No, poor bloke is dead. A man in spectacles is examining it. It's not the arm of the man in spectacles. A man in spectacles is examining it expertly. How do you do it? How do you examine expertly? Give me, if I was a director of a film or a stage play, and it said that, you know, somebody is examining it expertly. How would you do that? Show me examining it expertly, and then show me just examining it just ordinarily. How do you show the difference? How can you be more of an expert? Yeah, and I suppose you could examine it with intense concentration. You could examine something with it. Yes, yeah. That could be expertly, but I'm afraid, Mr. Morton, that is a very lazy. It's a lazy description, isn't it? Somebody's examining it expertly. How do you know? How do you know? With intense concentration is how I would have put that up, but what am I? Anyway, a man is examining it expertly with a red face of a labourer, with the red face of the labourer who unearthed it, gazed up earnestly over the parados, who knows, of a trench, wondering if it is a treasure or a piece of rubbish. It is so quiet here. The shadows of the yew lie in long pencils over the smooth grass. But stay, it's not so smooth. There are grassy dips and terraces where once ran altar steps. From tree to tree is a chain of birdsong. Raising sheer from the grass, appalling in its apparent starkness, is the great arch of the central tower of Glastonbury Abbey. The two... Oh, yeah, we did go around Glastonbury Abbey, it's true. The two... Wait a minute, I thought he was saying he was writing... Is he not writing this from the tour? Oh, he's writing this from the Abbey, of the ruins of... Yes, sorry, I've got confused there. Yes, he is in the ruins on a bench. We did that and it was pouring with rain. The two piers, I know exactly what he's looking at. The two piers rising in the air, but do not meet. There is blue sky between, and on the high, cleft towers, grass is growing. There are a few tumbled walls, and the beautiful St. Mary's Chapel represent all that remains of the once mighty abbey, the elder brother of Winchester and the birthplace of Christianity in England. It is, perhaps, not strange that all places which have meant much to man are filled with an uncanny atmosphere, as if something was still happening there secretly, as if filled with a hidden life. Glastonbury's like that. A band of tourists who came in laughing and joking moved along the ruins, puzzled and ill at ease. Glastonbury has stilled their laughter. I hear the click and thrust of the labourer's spade in the earth, and it seems to me that as each spadeful of Glastonbury soil falls on the mound, that a spadeful of English history is stirred. In the brown dust that flies over the trench, I seem to see the faces of anchorites, saints, priests, and kings, and in this pregnant dust of Avalon is drawn two of the greatest epics that have come from the English mind. One is of the Holy Grail, and the other of a wounded king. The Church of England has owned Glastonbury since 1907, and one must at least congratulate it on mowing the grass. But how is it possible that the church has neglected for 19 years to restore St. Mary's Chapel, the site of the first church built by British Christians, and probably first above-ground church in the world? The first above-ground church in the world? This lovely ruin, I mean, what is he barking on about? This lovely ruin, whose four walls stand, whose magnificent Norman archways are almost perfect, could in a few months be made fit for public worship. What queer lack of imagination stands in the way? Well, I think it's very good that they haven't adapted it and modernised it. And why, I wonder, is there no intelligent guide to satisfy the bewildered curiosity of the people from many countries who every day roam these ruins, drawn to them by the greatness of the name Glastonbury? The church could surely arrange that at least one guide be available to tell people that this quiet field is the only spot in England linked by legend of a man who knew Jesus Christ. Well, Glastonbury Gabriel's there. Surely he's old. No disrespect to him, but he may have been there in 1907. For centuries, man believed that in AD 61, St. Philip sent Joseph of... Oh, here we go. I knew we were going to get to this name. Arimathea. Is it? Arimathea? Joseph of Arimathea. I'm sure that's not right. Joseph of Arimathea, whose hands had laid Christ in the tomb to preach the gospel in England. It is said, according to the later legend, to have come with a band of missionaries bearing the chalice of the Last Supper, which he had begged of Pilate. This chalice has held the sacred blood from the cross. Here, in this English meadow, Joseph of Arimathea, whatever it is said to have built England's first church of plated osiers. Osiers? What the hell is an osier? When the missionaries crossed Weary-all Hill, Weary-all with the journey, Joseph, so the famous story goes, planted his staff in the earth. It took root and grew into the famous Glastonbury thorn, which I think is now demised, and there is a supposed sprig of it that's growing in the abbey, because I think that it got burnt down, didn't it? Or chopped down by vandals. Anyway, that belief founded the international fame of Glastonbury, and for centuries it was the English Jerusalem, one of the holiest places on earth. Men came from the ends of the world to pluck a sprig of the holy thorn in order that it might be buried with them. Saints were gathered to Glastonbury to lie in its earth. The bones of Arthur and Guinevere are said to have been buried beneath the high altar. Behind the ruined abbey, at the foot of the Tor, is the mineral spring, which was one of the wonders of the world. Its waters, heavily impregnated with iron, colour the earth, and everything they touch a rusty red. And this is the place to which the medieval pilgrim knelt, trembling and crying, contaminating the water, I notice, as I have seen pilgrims tremble and cry in Jerusalem, believing that here was buried the Holy Grail. As I was walking over the grass of the choir, I came to a railed-off plot of turf which marks the high altar of Glastonbury. A man was walking across it behind a mower lawn, a motor lawnmower even, thank you. Don't laugh, please. He told me that when automatic script was received in 1921, directing people to dig in a certain part of the ruins, he was one of the workers who found the hitherto unknown portions of the abbey indicated in the supposed spirit communication. Is that what oh, that's the automatic script. Is that auto writing that people do? Yes, sir, he said. Heaps of people say they see ghosts here, but I can't say I've seen any. It's got a bit of a West Country accent there. He took a... Is that the same... Have I jumped anything? Nope. He took a turn over the high altar and came back. See that bush? That's the holy thorn. The original one, oh, here we go, was hacked down by a Puritan who got a splinter in his eye from it and died. Well, if he had a splinter in it and died, how could he hack it down? There were several offshoots round Glastonbury, and you'd be surprised at the number of slips that we send away. One is going to a big church on a building of New York. We sent one to America not long ago for the tomb of President Wilson. And the grass has come back to the altar of Glastonbury, but the holy thorn, it still lives. Yeah, we believe you. The sun is setting, and the diggers are packing up. The arm bone has been taken away. Just as well. I have been to Glastonbury. 600 years ago, a man writing this would remember the greatest experience of his life. He would remember the greatest church outside Rome, the sound of its bells, the smoke of its incense, the sound of perpetual prayer, the gilded shrine, the hordes of pilgrims at the door, saints in ecstasy, sinners in tears, and in every man's mind faith in the marvellous story that had grown up around a reed hut in the Isle of Avalon. I have been to Glastonbury. Now a man sitting on a carved stone in a meadow hears the robin chant evensong, watches the thrush haunt his supper in the grass in the nave. Watches the thrush hunt his supper in the grass in the nave. From the site of chantry and chapel the blackbirds fly with a silver chink of alarm, and from the high altar of Glastonbury comes the sound of a man mowing grass. The labourer has climbed from the trench, he shoulders his spade, and he walks heavily away past the ruins that stand where England heard for the first time the greatest story in the world. He takes with him an arm bone that was Joseph of Armorish. Let's have a look at some of the comments as we get round here. You pronounced it perfectly right. Keep it up. Oh, marvellous. So that's blooming lucky. So yellow arm bone must have been one of the Simpsons. Yeah, could have been. I'm sure they did a little trip here. Hello, greetings from Oklahoma, Christian Soldier, 1965. Thanks for streaming, Richard. My pleasure to be streaming to you. And I hope you're enjoying whatever nonsense we're up to. Andrew Norris is here. Hello, what ho, finally made it. Fantastic. Lordy, I think the ring wreaths are conspiring to bring cack weather to the Shires. Yes. What can I say? Since when did Glastonbury have a pier, let alone two? Did I read that? Did I read that it had a pier? Linda, you've never visited the famous Glastonbury piers, says Andrew Norris. Yes, of course, we all know about the... maybe you just went to the wrong Glastonbury. Churches used to be built on the side of mountains or hills. That's true. Saw an amusement arcade, though. What, at Glastonbury? I don't know about the piers, but I'll give anything to spend a day in the charity shops with Gabe. Oh yes, you'd pick up some bargains there. You nearly pronounced it right, says Ernie. Oh, not that I did. Joseph of Amathea, Jonathan Fox. Thank you, Jonathan Fox. Nerd for life, been to the spring and drank the iron tasting water. Yes, we went there. I can't remember what it was called. It's inside the garden of Didgeridoo, isn't it? And you go up there and you fill up your bottles with all this rusty water. It's all very nice. Travels by Narrowboat says, Glastonbury, my memories of mud, straw, mud, but good music. Yeah, no, we're not talking about the music festival. Good afternoon. The plot Dungeness. Oh, at the pilot Dungeness. Late lunch. Sounds lovely. With Al Fresco. Good old Al. I'm glad he's there. We'll try to catch up later. RH and DR puffing past in the garden and the back wall. Romney Hythe and Dymchurch Railway, I presume that is. So there we go. Chalice, there we are. Chalice Well. That's right, the Chalice Well. I fell down the Chalice Well. I accidentally slipped and one of my feet went down. I felt this hand grab hold of my ankle and tug me harder. But luckily, the lovely Julia was there and pulled me out. So true as I sit here in green clothes. I entered Wells Cathedral just before noon. The cream-coloured church seemed empty. When I came to the north transept, I saw a crowd whispering, standing about, sitting on the stone steps, leaning against pillars and tombs, each member of it looking up anxiously at the west wall. They there were charabanc parties, American families, market women, farmers and their wives, and young men and young women in cycling clothes. Now, he doesn't mean that there were those terrible people, have you noticed them, in their cycling clothes, lycra, branded everywhere, all over, as if they are in the Tour de France on television. Julia and I were driving today. I had to help her out, go to the school and pick up some stuff. And there were these cyclists everywhere. And we noticed that cyclists all wear the same outfit. What is this? What is it about? They all wear the same outfit. And they've got to have all this branding on, as if they're on a television programme, a sporting programme, as if they're racing. They're out on an ordinary road. But the way that they cycle, where they weave into the middle of the road, forcing cars to have to go over the central reservation, and having what is it with them? And have you noticed? I don't know whether you've noticed this, but most of these serious geeky cyclists all got beards. Have you noticed they've all got these Van Dyke pointy beards? You can never really see their eyes. And these stupid helmets that sweep back almost half a mile, like the Sea Devils from Doctor Who, from the 1970s Doctor Who, like the Sea Devils and their hair that used to sweep back like that, and they're down like this, not looking anywhere, never seeing anything. Why do they do it? I said to Julia, these people, they spend $5,000 on the lightest weight bike possible, pedal light and go for miles. What they want is a bloody heavy old bike with no gears, just one position. They'll get exercise doing that. Take that up a hill. You only have to go for 10 minutes. You'll be out of breath. But no, because these have got 632 different gears, it's geared so that if they sneeze, they put on another 5 miles an hour. It's ridiculous. They're not getting any. It doesn't seem to me they're getting any exercise out of it, and they're spending an absolute fortune. And even worse than that, I've seen people whose bike clothes, their cycling clothes, match to the letter to the Pantone 604 colour spectrum to the bike. So the bike might have this electric blue thing on it going through it with electric blue handlebars, and they'll have on their black lycra, they'll have electric blue bands here and maybe an electric blue down there, and then it'll be on the mud guard on the back of the bike, and you go, oh my God, you can't ride that bike unless you've got that specific load of clothes. What happens when they wear out? Tonight's topic: what would you ban on the roads? Men and speed and looks cool. Doesn't look cool. I disagree. I think the fact that they've branded and they've got, why pay? Why pay to advertise another company's product? I just never have understood this. Why pay over the odds to advertise somebody else's? Surely. Anyway, I'm sure what they're talking about is people in nice tweeds and +4s in their cycling clothes. I hope they are. They would have been nice. Anyway, there they are. He's gone into Wells Cathedral, bud. Sorry about that rant. Just had to get that off my chest. What are they doing? I asked the verger. Waiting to see the clock strike 12, he replied. Then I remembered that in Wells Cathedral is one of the most exciting clocks in England. In fact, with the exception of the clock of Strasbourg Cathedral, probably one of the most exciting clocks in the world. It's 600 years old, and it was invented by a monk of Glastonbury called Peter Lightfoot, a likely name. At first sight, Brother Lightfoot's clock looks like man's first attempt at an automatic calculating machine. Oh, really? The dial, which is 6 foot 6 inches in diameter, is a mass of lines and numbers. A large outer circle is divided into 24 hours of the day. An inner circle shows the minutes. Round the hour circle moves a big, slow star. Round the inner circle, a quick, smaller star. Above the dial is a black cave in which things happen when the hour strikes. But I will tell you about that in its place. Oh, yes. Andrew Norris says, yes, Richard, who would pay to advertise Jack and Jones? Jack and Jones? I thought his name was Jack Jones. Yes, well, but I didn't know that was advertised. I just thought that was like somebody, because you get like these American things that say 18, and it'll have like a state on it. Mississippi, 18, like it's part of a what do they call it? A college baseball team. That's what I thought it was. But if I actually knew it, I'd have never heard of Jack and Jones. I just thought it was Jack Jones. I thought it was some bloke called Jack Jones. That was so. Yeah, fluorescent yellow is visible for a reason, says Nigel Sadler. Who said anything about fluorescent yellow? I said a blue stripe. I said electric blue. I said nothing about and you didn't give us the reason. Why is it? What is the reason? You know, there's no point saying it's visible for a reason. Everything has a reason. Everything has a cause and effect. Nigel Sadler. I expect Nigel has all the lycra. That's why he's saying it. Jack Jones, the butchers from... There we are. Jack Jones, the butchers from Dad's Army. That's who I thought it was. Anyway, who would wear a sweatshirt that says Andrew Norris on it? That's what I want to know. In addition to telling the time, Brother Lightfoot's marvellous clock tells you the phases of the moon and the position of the planets. Beneath a gold moon is written in Latin, Phoebe ever wanders. And as I tried to puzzle out all the information which Peter has crammed into his clock, the silly thought came into my head that perhaps he referred to the moon and obliquely to a woman. Who knows? Yeah, he's got sex on the brain, this bloke. Perhaps some unknown Phoebe, wandering, sent him into a monastery and gave the world this clock. The influence of jilting on art and invention has yet to be written, really. On the other hand, Peter may have been a solemn old medieval professor poring over charts, drawing diagrams on the refectory table, the despair of the abbot and the butt of less congestual minds. I'm sure that's more likely to be the truth. Ah! A rustle goes round the room. The minute star slides onto the moon. To the left of the clock dial, high up on the west wall, sits a smug little wooden man in a costume of Charles I's time. His name, I believe, is Jack Blanddiver. He sits with his heels against two bells. Noon. Jack Blanddiver kicks out his wooden leg and brings his heel back against the bell. Then the other one. He does this 8 times. The clock dial, however, claims the attention of the crowd. From it comes a whirring sound. Out of the black cave above the dial appear 4 mounted knights. 2 gallop round the table on the left, 2 to the right, and at every revolution one of them is knocked back from his horse, crupper by the sword of an adversary. The tournament spins round to a standstill. The hourly fight in Wells Cathedral is over. The crowd is smiling with childish delight, the same smile that has gone round the north transept for something like 600 years. Just as the theatre was born in the church, the cabaret show seems to have been born at the church clock. Bravo, Brother Lightfoot, bravo. What a thrill there is in Wales. How can I describe it to you? How can I describe to you the whisper of the waters that runs in the gutters, musically tinkling past the steps of old houses? In spite of the big charabangs that pile up in the square, it seems to be the sound of coach wheels has not quite died away on the London road. Wells is perfect. It is genuinely medieval, with no self-consciousness, no abasement to the tourist, apart from the 20-minute parking bays that you can only manage to get out the car and walk so far before you've got to go back and move it. Behind the stout wall which runs round the cathedral is something you'll see nowhere else in England. An inhabited medieval castle, complete with fortifications and moat. In this marvellous place lives the Bishop of Wells. I sat on the grass beside the moat watching his lordship's ducks and swans. They have hatched the most delightful fluffy families. I saw a swan swim up and ring the bell of the gatehouse. I rubbed my eyes. Was this a fairy tale? I looked at the white bird, half expecting that he might turn into a prince in white satin breeches. And he did it again. He took up a string that lay in the water and pulled it. A bell beneath the window of the gatehouse tinkled. The window opened. A crust of bread flew through the air and hit him on the head. He worried it under the water, summoned his family to him, and rang the bell again, and more food arrived. I walked over to the drawbridge and took the brass knocker in my hand. A small postern opened. "Whenever the swans are hungry, they ring the bell," explained a girl. "We never disappointment. We keep a tray of food always ready to throw out when they ask for it. They teach the cygnets to ring too. The ducks do it sometimes, but not as often as the swans." I returned to the grass of the moat, watching the birds ring for their food. The cathedral bells chimed the quarter. The sun was mellow over the old walls. I could see the fortifications of the bishop's palace bending round to bastions fitted with sentry walks and slits for bowmen. What a place to live in. "The mutton was tough," said a voice. I looked up and saw a man. "Yeah," replied a pretty girl, "but the peas were simply delicious." They gazed at the moat, the drawbridge, and the swans. They turned and saw, perhaps, the central tower with Wells standing up above the elm trees and the high wall, a big white cloud poised like a nimbus behind it. "I never did think much of cheddar cheese," said the man. "I adore Gruyere," said the girl softly. A piece of bread shot through the air and landed on the grey fluff of a cygnet's back. What a place to dream in is Wells when the sun soaks down through the trees, and the lichen on the Lord's battlement shines like gold. The chapter house of Wells, that lovely round room, approached by the most alluring flight of steps I've ever seen, justifies a pilgrimage. "Those prunes," said a departing voice, "we had in Bath were the best I've ever tasted." 2 more people came and stood above me, a man and a girl. "Oh," she said, "how adorable! Just look at those little windows over the moat. Don't you wish you were Pellies, dear, and that I was Miss Melisande at the window, letting down your hair?" "Not Rapunzel, then?" "Melisande. No, not Rapunzel." "Don't be silly," he said. "How could you?" She shook a cropped head. "Oh, how unromantic you are, Reginald." They walked slowly under the trees, arm in arm, bickering for hours. The church struck the quarter, the half-hour, the 3/4, and then the hour. It seemed to me that I'd sat there wrapped in contentment, that little mother of moorhen who was taking What? It seemed to me, as I sat there wrapped in contentment, that the little mother moorhen who was taking her 4 black chicks for their first swim was one of the most important people in the world. Ah, bless his little socks of goldenness. Let's just check out some more of this. Sorry, I was not reading terribly well today, but hey-ho. They have horses in buggies, and every time you pass them, with the truck. The horse freaks in, you never know which way they're going to go. What are you on about? Would I be banned from the roads? Oh, Amish people. Oh, yes, Amish people. They're a strange bunch. And the little men and ladies driving at 20 miles an hour. How do we get to the Amish people? Oh, here we go. Nigel Sadler. I love it when there's a lot of snow and ice about. All the ditches and sharp bends are littered with 4x4s parked on their sides. Seldom any other type of vehicle. Just hope you can see over the wheel. I raised the seat. I'm not quite sure what that means, he says, trying to make sense of any of this. Linda Kane says, you may be an exception, Julia. Most I come across are the rudest drivers on the road, most unaware of what's going on beneath them in meanings of the world. What are you talking about? Anyway, whoopee cushions would be funnier. They would indeed. You just talk amongst yourself. I'll just get on and do the reading bit. Don't be silly, Richard. Your reading today is fine. I doubt many of us could do as well live and spot on and bravo. Thank you very much, Ed. There we are. Somebody's paying attention. Right, this is part 4 of chapter 5. I've decided that when I grow old, with or without gout, sciatica, rheumatism, or lumbago, I will retire on Bath. I will retire on Bath with an ebony cane and a monocle. I like Bath. It has quality. I like Bath buns, Bath Olivers, Bath chaps, Bath brick and Bath stone, maybe you'd be in a Bath chair, which to my London eyes is the beautiful sister of Portland stone. And few sights are more stimulating to relax the nerves than to sit on the hotel terrace opposite the pump room and watch the bath chairs dash past. There we are. I had to get bath chairs. Do people sit in bath chairs these days? I don't think they do. It's a shame. I think more people should be sitting in bath chairs, being pushed by their younger daughters. That's my opinion. We were often told in the army that the speed of a squadron was the speed of its slowest horse. Similarly, the speed of Bath is that of its slowest chair. Some months ago, the local paper reported that a woman was run over by a Bath chair. I'm too tired and lazy to look up the files to find out the details, but from my slight knowledge of Bath, I imagine that the injured person and the pusher of the chair were probably sleepwalking at the time of the collision. That is the great danger here. As long as you can keep awake, you may survive. When anybody yawns on the top of Combe Down, the yawn goes right round Bath. If you're a bad sleeper, as I am, you'll know how glorious this place is. A delicious numbness drenches me. An adorable drowsiness sits on the top of my head. I go to sleep at 10 without counting one sheep, and I wake up at 7 feeling almost as tired to swim for 20 minutes in a solution of warm pea soup, only it tastes much nicer. That sentence didn't seem to make much sense. Older men have told me that they attribute their agility and their ability to drink half a bottle of port every night to the fact that they, when young, did eagerly frequent these swimming baths so full of radium, which generous nature shoots piping hot into Bath through a deep rift in the surface of the earth. Is he beginning to lose the plot here? Oh, forgive my yawn. It's only 9:05. I think is how he's supposed to have done it. Forgive my yawn, it's only 9:05. I heard a bright young man say at a party that living in Bath was rather like sitting in the lap of a dear old lady. Nobody laughed because it's true. Bath is the dear old lady of Somerset, grey-haired, mittened, smelling faintly of lavender, One of those old ladies who've outlived a much disused past and are now and obviously respectable only as old ladies with crowded pasts can be. She nurses you with a shrewd twinkle in which you detect experience mellowed by age. You look at her lovingly, wondering how she could ever have been wicked, wishing that she could grow young again just for one wild evening and show you. That might wake you up. Lee Lawson says the yawn was catching. I do apologise. Sounds like Bagpuss, doesn't it? Oh, I've got to be going again now. Look out. The crowds in Bath move slowly. Noises here are louder than anywhere else on earth. That's a sweeping statement, if ever I heard it. A motorcycle coming up Stall Street sounds like a giant rattling. Sounds like a giant rattling Cleopatra's Needle along area. A motorcycle coming up Stall Street sounds like a giant rattling Cleopatra's Needle along area railings vast as oak trees. Bath was made for chairs, sedan and the other kind. Don't tell me they had sedan chairs in his time. They were from the 18th century, for goodness sake. Anything else on wheels is a rude invasion. When we went to Bath, the lovely Julia and I, we went on a canal boat. We didn't go in on wheels. Anything on wheels would be an invasion. One of the most soothing sights in England is the vista through the black Georgian pillars in Stall Street, the pump room to the right, the lovely Abbey in the background, the foreground occupied by a Bath chairman in various peaceful attitudes. Yeah, well, he's not mentioning the people selling the monks. What were the name of those monks? Those, in orange. Those orange monks with the higher Krishna, hairy Krishnas, that we got collared. And we had to I had to find £5 so that Julia could have a book that I bet she's never opened since. The history of whatever their religion is, or a hymn book to the thing that we got collared in by one of these. And he was in plain clothes. That was the thing. He was probably an imposter. And he was flogging these books. And he said, I asked £5 for this thing. And the lovely Julia said, oh, that sounds nice. I said, oh, no, please don't buy it. Please don't buy it. Don't be taken in. Don't be hoodwinked. Oh, no, but it will be, I'd like to help these people. So suddenly it's like, oh, have you got £5 on it? Oh, there we go. £5. Never see that £5 again. Great hefty tome. I made sure she kept the book. I didn't want it on my shelf. Anyway, that's what we saw in Bath. That's my everlasting memory. I can't remember anything else other than being hoodwinked out of £5. Bloody cheat. Anyway, I've lost where it was. Yeah, it's the general. On wet days, the chairmen sleep inside their chairs with little doors closed, sitting up behind glass panels like mummies in their sarcophagi. On fine days, they sleep outside. Your profession is not a very exciting one, I suggested to a veteran chairman. I'm not sure what are these chairmen? These are people who just sit in these bath chairs, are they? He considered for some time and replied, no. I can't think how you made a living out of bath chairs. We don't. We do a little carpet beating now and then and some odd jobs. It isn't much of a life. Inside the pump room you can see pictures of Bath in the old days. In those times people didn't mind paying for 2 men to carry them about in a sedan chair, but now... Oh, excuse me, sir. Yes, mum, I'm free. 4:30, mum, to go round Victoria Park. Yes, the steps low and I go steady. Thank you, mum. That's right, sir. My first job today. So what is it? He pushes people round in a bath chair. I'm trying to work out what these people do. Oh, gracious, oh, Lady of Somerset, how I love to be nursed by your once naughty knee. Am I reading the right book today? I seem to have picked up a different... Somebody's been tampering with this. Can't believe it's the same author. I just closed my eyes, and these two old men talking about the pale green water of the Roman bath, one of them is a general and the other's a judge, and they were wearing togas. Why are their feet in white laced boots? Is it, of course, because I have half closed my eyes, and when you do this in Bath, you see ghosts? Look how the tumbled pillars of the Roman bath build themselves up, how the dusty tesserae shine again with colours and form a pattern. The Roman bath is alive. Old General X and Sir Archibald Y are standing on the polished pavement on which Diana runs with her hounds in leash. Do they know that they are wearing togas? Ought I to tell them? But is it General X? No, he is General Caius Sargaticus, Sarcophagus, Scarticus, or something, of the Valens Victrix. And is that Archibald Y? No, of course not. It's Marcus Ruminatus of Londinium. Funny nightmare there in Bath. What a climate, says General. Oh, Sciaticus. General, it's got an S, you know, Sciaticus. What a climate. So this is, it's not General X. He's General Caius Sciaticus of the Valens Victrix. And the other one is Marcus Rheumaticus of Londonium. Advance warning of these words coming up would be useful when you're reading live without having seen the pages beforehand. I'm sorry to say, that would have been handy. Anyway, what a climate, says General Sciaticus. By Jove, sir, what a damnable climate. It gets me on my knees. By the way, is it true that Boadicea's great-grandson has gone red? He's a firebrand. It runs in the family, you know. I had to crucify his uncle at Camulodunum last year. Perhaps you've heard of it. A terrible country, but we are civilising them by degrees. How is your rheumatism this year? Has it ever struck you that this hot water was placed here by Providence to hold the empire together? Is there no place in Britain in which one can feel warm? What would one do? By Jove, that's a pretty woman, the one over there with the yellow hair. Yes, the wife of Dion... Oh, I can't be asked to say that word either. The Greek financier. He's just travelling. Have you heard her speak? Pretty accent. Here, have a listen. Say now, don't tell me that all this hot water comes right up out of the earth like this. Well, you certainly do surprise me. It is only centrally heated spot I have struck in this cold little island. Oh, I do love to. Oh, I'd love to. I haven't been warm since I left Athens. And the draughts, you know. Aquasilas is sure that it's the draughtiest spot on earth. I open my eyes and see that General X and Sir Archibald are actually dressed properly again, and Mrs. Boston certainly does have lovely yellow hair. In the evening, you can walk through the splendid streets of Bath, magnificent streets lined with Georgian houses, standing stiff as lackeys behind pillared porticos, elegant, formal homes. There is the Circus, the Crescent, there is Pulteney Bridge, England's Ponte Vecchio, they are lovely Georgian gateways, and little queer streets round whose corners it seems you just miss the flash of a red-heeled shoe, the twinkle of feet beneath brocade, the sound of a rather naughty little laugh. It is very difficult, if you walk in Bath at night, not to find yourself suddenly under the rather contemptuous scrutiny of a man with a double chin and a heavy nose, whose three-cornered hat shades eyes that lie in flashy bags. Beau Nash. "Sir," says this ghost, "I inform you that a gentleman of fashion carries a cane. I'm glad to observe that you're not wearing a sword. Your hat is, sir, like a scullion's, and your legs are encased in two inelegant tubes of cloth, for which, sir, I can find no name. You are perhaps a foreigner?" "No, Beau, I came from London." Whereupon the ghost of Beau Nash, uttering an incredible cry, "London!" vanishes. Two eyes go last. Oh, the two eyes go last. It's like some cartoon, this. With a still fixed look of horror upon your trousers. So you return through haunted streets to the quiet hotel, where two old men at war with lumbago sit in the lounge, having loyally obeyed their doctors all day. The clock strikes 10. The devil enters into them. Their wives have retired to bed, so no one will know. They call the waiter and whisper wickedly, "Shall we?" "Yes." "2 double whiskies, and make 'em snappy." I think this is Bath's greatest sin. Outside, mercilessly in the shadows, it is Pindaric's motto, writ in Greek characters above the pump room: "Water is the best policy." Ah, how tired am I. If I am awake tomorrow, I am going to take the cure. If I'm awake tomorrow, I'm going to take the cure. I'm going to have a mineral bath. I'm going to sip the waters. Forgive me. Good night. Bloody hell. I think he was on something on that one. There we go. At war with lumbago. Yes. Love it. Love it. He is a good writer. I wish I could read it out. It's better than I did. Hardly worth seemed to disturb the moths in his wallet just for the book. Yes. We've stepped through the looking glass, says Audrey. I get sciatica, says Morton Lewis. It's been trapped in Spain that does it. Willis Vodwick. Oh, Willis Vodwick. Richard's readings are more surreal than Salvador Dali. That's very true. Bigus Dickus. Yes, Morton, feeling all bendy and melty. Dear, oh dear. Talking of clocks, Festinogue Railway have one on the face of it's lettered "Jolly Good Fun." Oh, that sounds very nice. Is all that port he's drinking, says Turbo Stream. The yawn was catching his bag. But yeah, blah. Carry on, Richard. Don't mind us. I'm trying to. I never quite know what you're up to. Anyway, there we are. That was it, really. Scullion. Wasn't Scullion from the X-Files, if I remember rightly? Can't remember the other bloke. In there was Scullion and Mouldy and Scullion, wasn't it, from the X-Files? There was a silly old series that was every week. It was like something weird that would never happen in real life, something surreal, and one of them's going, there's a probable explanation for this. It's like, no, look. That's a flying mushroom in front of your face with bug eyes and green hair going. That is not probably a rational explanation for it. Yes, it's a television program. That's the rational explanation. It's an American television program with Scullion and Mouldy at the helm. Outrageous, isn't it? Anyway, enough. Time for another cup of methinks, says Sean. Yes, absolutely. Are you reading from the Mayfair magazine, says Edward Moulding. No idea. I don't know. Is that the local rag up in London, Mayfair magazine?
Hello, we're reading from Mayfair magazine, and in Mayfair today there's a whole load of interesting things going on. The Mayfair, of course, will be dancing around the flagpole, which will be very entertaining for most of us. But if you happen to be in Putney, the Putney magazine It's a little bit low down, low market, not as highbrow as the Mayfair magazine.
Anyway, people seem to be leaving in their droves, so I ought to follow them. Thank you so much. It's been rather surreal today, but there we are. Good reading. Thank you very much. Morton was, you mean, is. Thank you, Julia. Until next time. Oh, the Vogue show is on tonight at 8 o'clock UK time. And thank you very much. If you enjoyed any of this nonsense, there's a digit on the end of my finger that needs to go up. And you could improve the like quality of this video. I'm just watching to see if they go up now. Oh, yes, look at that. There we are. One went up straight away to 18. Thank you. Thank you to the 19. Let's see if we get up to 20. Go on. Just one more. Just there we go. Thank you very much. We can go now. There we are. 20 likes. Marvellous. Take care, one and all. Have a nice time. I'll catch up with you forever. Bye. Goodbye, dear. Goodbye.